Welcome back to the Game Collection. I am SuperDerek, and this is Persona 4 Golden. Development of Persona 4 began after the release of Persona 3, and was released for the PlayStation 2 in 2008, well after the launch of the PlayStation 3. Persona 4 Golden is an enhanced remake of Persona 4 that was released for the PlayStation Vita in 2012. It features new social links, new dungeons, new side quests, new plot points, an extended epilogue, and much more. Because of all of this, it's generally accepted as the definitive Persona 4 experience. Persona 4 is a game with a split personality. By day, the game is a slice-of-life visual novel. Our heroes are everyday high schoolers who have to study for tests, hold down part-time jobs, and juggle a social life. But by night, our heroes don weaponry and traverse a strange world and fight shadows using their personas in highly stylized turn-based combat. Mix in an ominous murder mystery plot throughout, and what you've got is an oddly satisfying way to spend nearly 100 hours. In Persona 4, you play as Yu Narukami, a transfer student arriving in Inaba, a small, quiet countryside town that's about to get a whole lot more interesting. Shortly after Yu arrives in town, a string of bizarre murders turns the quiet town of Inaba on its head. Meanwhile, rumors of the Midnight Channel begin to circulate, a show that only comes on at midnight on a rainy night and shows the face of the next murder victim. Yu and his friends decide to try their hand at seeking the truth behind the Midnight Channel by entering the world inside the TV. The overarching murder mystery plot of Persona 4 is highly engaging on its own, but even that plays second fiddle to the character development arcs found within the social links, which make a return from Persona 3. As you choose to spend more time with your friends and family, their own personal struggles unfold, and you help some of them through very difficult decisions in their lives. Depending on how you choose to treat your friends, some of them can even become romantic relationships. It's through these social interactions that you, the player, also form bonds with the characters, which amplifies some of the more tender or gut-wrenching moments of the game. There are tons of people that you can develop relationships with, many of which you might not even find on your first playthrough. This, coupled with the Game Plus mode and the many different endings, gives this game substantial replayability. The gameplay of Persona 4 is obviously heavily inspired by that of Persona 3. In fact, outside of dungeons, the game is nearly identical to Persona 3. There are slight differences in the way that certain stats are increased, and now you can pick up a part-time job and even develop some social links at night, but the mechanics are the same and will feel very familiar to players of Persona 3. Inside dungeons, things have been reworked a bit, mostly in the fine details. One of the biggest updates to Persona 4's battle system, though, is that as you increase your social link with party members, they'll gain additional moves, stat bonuses, and bonus effects which become indispensable in the late game. Persona 4 fixes a lot of the problems that existed in Persona 3, but they also made a couple of missteps. At certain points in the game, you will need to gain information about the people that you're trying to rescue. This is to help you track them down within the TV world. This sounds kind of neat on the surface, but the way that you gather information is by talking around to people around town. And by that I mean talking to everyone in town, sometimes more than once even. It's kind of a pain when it happens, and it can bring your momentum to a screeching halt. To make matters worse, the things you uncover about people are the things that the player could easily deduce based on previous interactions with those people. This is easily the worst part of the game, by far. Luckily, it only happens a handful of times and usually only lasts for about a half hour or so. One of the problems from Persona 3 that did not get fixed is the time that it takes to actually start the game, though. Early in the game, your character is put on a predefined path from which you cannot really stray. There's a lot of exposition that needs to happen first in order for the game to make sense, and I can understand that, but all told, from the time that you start the game to the point where you fight a monster, you'll already be going on about 2 hours of gameplay. If you're only playing the game for the battles, this might be a huge turnoff. But then again, if you're only playing the game for the battles, then you're overlooking the vast majority of the game. And while Persona 4 is still a relatively dark game thematically, compared to the previous Persona titles, it doesn't quite have the same dark and broody vibe. And while that's a slight departure from what Persona fans may be used to, I don't consider that a weakness, just a strand of individuality that helps this game stand on its own. On the PlayStation 2, Persona 4 was already a half step better in the visuals department, but on the PlayStation Vita, it's no contest. The animated cutscenes in Persona 4 Golden are really nicely done as well. The frame rate is still on the low side, but the characters all look excellent. During the game, and especially during battle, the characters are all very expressive. One of the huge improvements is the way that each dungeon has its own distinct theme, and the fact that each dungeon is only about 10 floors or so keeps the game from feeling too repetitive and monotonous like Tartarus did. These dungeons range from such amazing settings as a castle, a bathhouse, strip club, and 16-bit RPG inspirations. Many Shadow and Persona designs from Persona 3 also make a return, with a nice heaping helping of original designs mixed in for variety. The voice acting within Persona 4 is once again stellar. Many lines were re-voiced for Persona 4 Golden, some of which were voiced by different voice talent. Chie's voice actress sounds quite a bit different, and that bugged me for a little bit, having played through the original Persona 4. But I think that the new voice actress did an admirable job of helping the voice of Chie sound a bit more distinctive, if, well, maybe a little spastic. The music of Persona 4 is phenomenal. It's quite a bit different from the music found in Persona 3. It features a lot of somber-sounding piano, as well as some high-energy J-pop during battle. There's actually a small portion of the game where you can hear some music from Persona 3, which was subtle, but a very welcome surprise. Persona 4 has spawned a few spin-offs, including the fighting game Persona 4 Arena, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, the rhythm game, and Persona Q, the first-person dungeon crawler, which also features characters from Persona 3. There's also a couple of anime out there available to watch, as well as a manga. Needless to say, Persona 4 has become extremely popular. Because of this, copies of Persona 4 Golden are rather inexpensive and easy to find for around $20 or less, an absolute steal. Persona 4 Golden truly is fantastic, and is overall the strongest and most accessible entry in the series. However, I don't feel like the game made any concessions to broaden its appeal. The game has a solid narrative that propels you forward, excellent character development, and highly addictive battle mechanics. While it's not perfect, it was able to improve upon the shortcomings of its predecessor, and that's why it's got a spot in the game collection.